Hello, security pros, and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar. We are going to be going over facial recognition. Now is the time to join and lead. In this webinar, CyberLink Senior Vice President and General Manager, Richard Carrier, and VP of Business Development, Terry Schellenberg, and Senior Sales Engineering Manager, Craig Campbell, will discuss why the demand for facial recognition, a must-have for security, is quickly expanding into operations, marketing, and sales. I'm Hannah Boone, ESA's Marketing Manager, and I'm excited to be leading today's webinar. We at ESA realize that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our CyberLink experts. Richard Carrier. Richard is a results-driven technology executive recognized for driving growth on a global scale in fast-changing environments. He is a team builder, a team player, and a creative leader. And he has over 10 years in CyberLink's worldwide marketing and Americas operations. Previously, he was respectively the president of Nero Incorporated and the general manager at Corel. Richard has worked at McKinsey & Company and Ernst & Young, and he holds an MBA at Dartmouth College and has graduated from London Business School and HEC Montreal. Then we also have Terry Schellenberg. Terry has spent the past 40 years working with businesses all across the country. He is a technology veteran with a wide range of leadership roles within the tech industry. He was rated one of the top technology speakers for 3 years in a row with TEC Worldwide, mentoring more than 2,000 CEOs over a 5-year period. Terry has worked with Biometrics over the past 11 years to better prepare businesses for the latest technologies that they can leverage in order to keep their employees and facilities safe. Additionally, we have Craig Campbell. Craig has over 30 years of experience working on new cutting-edge technologies. He has held positions that range from product development to sales engineering and evangelism in a number of small and large organizations. Building on an expertise that goes back to early years of digital media, Craig has spent the last 10 years applying computer vision, biometrics, and other technologies to cybersecurity, surveillance, and access control. Quite the introduction. Thank you all for joining, and y'all can take it away from here.
Okay, so yes, I'm Richard. Thanks a lot for the nice introduction. That was a whole lot more than we were expecting. So, and thanks for our guests. So for those who are joining us remotely, we have people here. We're at the Porsche Experience Center in just outside Los Angeles for the event. This is not just random decision. Because we're going to talk in this seminar and also throughout the day for those who are with us in person, show the importance of performance as a key driver for facial recognition solutions that add to the performance of a variety of solutions range from security and access control to retail experience to a whole set of other things that are very important. Performance is something here at Porsche. Those who know cars, the Porsche 911 is probably the longest standing car. It's been around for 60 years. Compared to other supercars, it's the performance at every point, reliability, every context makes it a car, an everyday car that you can put also in the racetrack. Its popularity has never faded, so it always innovate, reinvent itself. So these are all the values that we share at CyberLink. This is the value that we will present to you here in terms of facial recognition technology, and our partners who are here, and we thank you very much, also share these values. So I won't say anything more. I will leave the floor to my colleague, Terry, who will go into details. Thank you.
So we're going to go through this agenda today, talk very quickly about biometrics, facial recognition, how good biometrics are they something that you can depend on? We're going to talk about adding facial recognition to your business tool set, popular use cases, new use cases, products that you can deliver today, and the ethics of facial recognition. So I'm going to start with biometrics and facial recognition. I've worked in the biometric space for about 20 years with a lot of customers, and I tell this first story because it's really interesting to watch Is it something that we should be afraid of? Is it something that we should leverage? Is it something that we can take advantage of? And I worked with universities for a long time. And I remember meeting with a father whose daughter was in a girls' dorm in college, place that she felt safe, place that she felt that she could be and not have to be too worried about. And somebody found a badge on the ground and came into the girls' dorm and actually raped her. And the school was looking at ways that they could secure the girls' dorms better. And they were looking at using pins and looking at cards and other things, and they came up with biometrics. And when the father came and saw that we were putting in facial recognition for the dorms, so that now when the girls swiped their badges, they would look at the camera, and if they belonged in that dorm, the door would open. And the father told me, he said, I am so grateful for this technology because what had happened to his daughter was devastating. He said, we need technologies like this more and more. He asked me, how good is it? How safe is it? How secure is it? And is it a violation of her privileges, of her privacy? And I told him I didn't think so. I didn't believe so. And I asked him how he felt about it at the end of the semester. And he said it was probably the best decision that the school had made. Biometrics in general, we've been dealing with them for a long time. There's all kinds of biometrics. So signature and handwriting in the 60s, people found ways that, you can look at your handwriting and analyze it and say, that's really Terry. That's exactly who he is based on his writing. Fingerprints were used in the 1800s. First court case that was processed using fingerprints was 1911. Palm and vein prints were in the 1800s. Voice prints in the 60s. Gait recognition. Your walk and my walk are different. And the iris. Ophthalmologists, after looking at hundreds of eyes, realized, the eyes are pretty unique and they stay unique. Our eyes don't change from when we're children to when we're adults. They always stay the same. They don't get bigger, they don't get smaller. And facial recognition started in the 60s. The first semi-automatic facial recognition system didn't come into play until 1988. Now, one of the things that we're dealing with today in our world with the internet is we have voice, we have fingerprint and face that are dealing with something called a deep fake. I'm becoming someone or something that I'm not. And all of these technologies now are dealing with ways to make sure that you are who you say you are. There's two approaches to facial recognition, geometric and photometric. Photometric is what we've been using since the 60s. It's basically looking at specific points on a face and comparing that to another face and saying, are they the same? If they are, these faces must be equal. Where geometric gives you a math-based methodology of the face where it's much more precise and much more accurate. How good are biometrics? Well, in 2003, they do a lot of testing on this. They do a lot of testing for all of the biometrics that we had talked about. But they've been ranking fingerprints for a long time. And fingerprints are saying are about 90% accurate. That's the best they can do. So we always think, fingerprints are unique. Everyone has a unique fingerprint. No two are the same. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Iris recognition. In 2003, they were about 81% accurate. If you do iris outdoors, they're about 50% accurate. Lighting really messes with the eyes, really messes with iris recognition. Facial recognition, same thing. Indoor, about 77%. Outdoor was about 37%. We were doing facial or photo geometric matching. Well, in 2020, we're now using artificial intelligence. We've added artificial intelligence to the mix, and it changed drastically. You see that iris now is in the 97% range, and you see that facial recognition is in the 98% range. This all occurred because of artificial intelligence, and even the outdoor ratings are significantly higher because of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence also gets rid of racial bias. One of the biggest nightmares with facial recognition is racial bias. Darker skin has a more difficult time recognizing a face than with lighter skin. And that has always caused a problem. With geometric and with artificial intelligence, racial bias goes out the window. So I want to talk with you real quick about what does it look like to add facial recognition to your toolbox? People ask me every day, does this make sense? Is it the right time? What's going on? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some use cases. I'm going to take you through some cases that are going on that our world is seeing and are using today. So I am not going to read these slides to you. These slides are for you for later, but I want to talk very briefly about each of the headlines here. So access control and time and attendance. I talked to you about the girls' dorm, using it for access control. Buddy punching is a big deal in the time and attendance space. Being able to punch someone else's card or to punch them in even though they're not there or they're going to be late, or punch them out after they've gone. Time and attendance is a big deal with facial recognition because now you can use the face and guarantee that that person is checking in or checking out. Access for medical cabinets. I work with a number of companies across the world. Medical cabinets are still mostly lock and key. Some are using fingerprints because fingerprints are pretty reliable. They're acceptable use of biometrics. But locks and keys are still vastly, or the majority used. And because of that, the cabinets are left open a lot. Well, by using facial recognition, I can guarantee that you are certified to be in this cabinet. You're certified to be in this cabinet at the right time. And I can guarantee that you have access to the correct drugs that you need. And these companies that are building these tools are seeing some incredible success rates. Security at airports. Airports still to this day are what are called two-factor authentication. They use cards and they use pins. You will see that this at just about every airport across the country. They'll tap a card and then they'll type a PIN code on the reader. The problem with that is it's something that I have and something that I know. I can easily become you if I steal your card and I know your PIN. That's a problem at airports. With facial recognition, they're doing cards and face, something that I have and something that I am. And that two-factor authentication gives you a significantly higher level of security. This is what we're doing at the girls' dorms. This is what we're doing at nuclear plants right now. Universities that are using anthrax and some of these very, really dangerous chemicals and things like this are all using multi-factor authentication with face, because now I can't ever become you unless I am you. And government offices are using this a lot. Government offices have stepped up their security, and now they're requiring face. They're doing face verification. Most of the time, it's against a driver's license or a passport or some other type of identification when I show up, just like it is at the TSA when you go through TSA today. But who's verifying your TSA credentials? You have a human being doing it today, don't you? You hand him your driver's license. He asks you to pull your mask down. He says, yep, you look like the right guy. Okay, I'm going to let you through. Very little pushback, very little verification, but that's the way that they're doing this. Now, before I get into the new use cases, these 4 cases that I just shared with you, these are being done internationally. These are not being done in the US today. The reason is because the international environment has really embraced facial recognition. They understand the value. They understand that it's not a privacy issue. It's a security issue. It's understanding who is behind that, or who is behind that person. The United States is slowly catching up. And when I talk to people about, do you want to add this as something you want to bring into your organization? I tell them, if you start seeing this worldwide, I promise you it's coming to the United States very quickly. And working for a facial recognition company, I get asked this question every single day. Is this something that we're going to see in the United States, or is it something that's never going to happen? So let me tell you about some of the new use cases, because the new use cases will give you an idea of why it's coming to the United States quickly. Dynamic imaging has some really cool technologies that they built for helping people prosecute criminals, for helping people do an investigation, for helping prisons secure their facilities. Dynamic imaging is here in the room today, and they will show you their system, but their system is very powerful. One of my favorite stories that they tell me is in the past, when they check in prisoners into a prison cell, they would have to scan the wristband, a band on their wrist, typically with a barcode or an RFID tag or something in it. They have to get really close in order to do that. And many times there would be an assault. They could be attacked. Well, now they're using facial recognition. They could stand feet away from those people, verify who they are. You're in the right place. I can move on and do my job. It's very powerful technology when you throw facial recognition into the mix. M-Site. This is a very fun story. This is a very creative use of facial recognition. They do construction site time and attendance. They do construction site access control. And you see this device on the top here. This is their device. They built this device. They've been shipping it for a couple years. The problem is most of these construction sites are temporary. They're there for a few weeks, a few months, maybe a year, and then they get moved. And these devices are getting destroyed because every time that they move them, every time that they're hauling equipment, moving equipment around, moving material around, these devices are getting destroyed. And it was costing them a fortune. And so what they did is they changed their model. They said, you know what, we're going to move this to the phone. The phone is now completely capable of doing facial recognition. And so what happens now is your typical GC, your general contractor on the site, is the person that's checking everybody in. And he's using his own personal iPhone, his own personal Android phone, and checking people in. Do you think that phone gets broken every week or every time that they need to move to a new site? All of a sudden, the hardware goes away. All of a sudden, the problems that they were running into building their own devices were taken care of immediately overnight by moving this to the personal devices. And then Century Interactive. Century Interactive has an incredibly beautiful interactive receptionist. This works at office buildings. You can walk into the office building and it can recognize you. It can ask you questions. Hey, have you been exposed to COVID? Has anything happened? Have you been around people? You know what? I can measure your temperature right here. You know, you have a high fever today. Maybe you shouldn't be coming in here. It can do health screening. It can show you some information. It can direct you. Hey, you know what? We see you have a meeting with Richard at 3 o'clock. Go up to the 3rd floor. We'll open the doors for you. We'll let you into the elevator. Go up to the 3rd floor, take a right, and the first room on your right is going to be where you're going to meet him. We'll let him know you're here. This interactive display can completely take away from having a physical receptionist there and give you a lot of great tools. Retail environments are really starting to get really behind facial recognition. And again, I'm not going to read this slide, but FaceView has a really powerful tool. And we're going to show you a demo in a minute of another powerful tool using in the retail environment. But what's happening is in the past, we've counted people. I want to know how many people came into my store. I want to know how many people bought. But I don't have any idea of who, what, any of that information. All I know is how many. Using facial recognition, I could recognize that you're a female, you're a male, you're between 20 and 50 years old, you're a teenager, you're a child, you're an adult, and give you some information, time and day, exactly who was in your store, when and where. For people who are spending millions of dollars in advertising dollars, I know exactly if my advertising dollars are paying off. Insurance policies, another use case that is really starting to leverage facial recognition. Because of COVID, so much of this was done online. And I cannot do and verify who you are online because you're behind a camera. But if I have access to your passport or you have access to your passport and I can verify you're the person on that passport, when I meet you face to face, I can get all of this work done ahead of time. This is called Know Your Customer, or KYC, and it's very powerful online. So powerful that the cryptocurrency exchange all use facial recognition now. You cannot open a cryptocurrency account without facial recognition. They haven't even gone to traditional models. They bypassed all of the old ways and said, cryptocurrency, facial recognition, that is the way we're going to do it. Next, I'm going to talk about 2 ways to deliver facial recognition today. There's 2 things that people are looking to add facial recognition to right away. One is surveillance, safety. So if you have a VMS today, if you have a VMS in place, you have all of these pieces at the top. You have IP cameras, you might have doors, you might have a workstation, servers, things like this. But what if you want to add facial recognition? Do you need to start over? Do you need to start from scratch? Is there a way to add on to what you have and add facial recognition to that to take advantage of it? There are ways to do this. We are working with companies in all of these situations right now from the VMS point of view. They have a VMS in place, they have cameras. They have a DVR in place and they have cameras. And now they want to add access control. They want to add time clocks. They want to add and be recognized for VIPs and people on a block list. Industrial sites are using this for specific machinery. I have to be certified to use a specific piece of machinery. I don't want people going in and playing and pushing buttons who don't know what they're doing. I'm not going to turn that machine on unless you and I know who you are. Very powerful use cases. The same thing with monitoring. I can monitor individual people. I can see, when did you come in? When did you leave? What's going on? During the pandemic, this was very powerful technology where they were looking at trying to alert people who had been exposed to COVID because they were in an area that somebody was there. I have the information, I have the recognition of these people. It's not just counting. And if you're going to add this to your VMS, you have to make sure that it's scalable. And this is something that I have conversations with customers every day. Facial recognition is a lot of horsepower. You need a lot of heavy lifting in order to make this work. It's not something that you can do very, very easily. You just can't add it to your existing servers. So you put in a new server to do facial recognition on a few cameras, and then it expands. Well, do you have to add more servers and more servers? Or can you add GPUs? Can you add NVIDIA cards to those servers and give those servers more horsepower to do more work for you? You will see here that you can go on a small PC and do 2,000, 3,000 faces every minute or every hour. By adding GPUs on those same servers, I can go up to 80,000 faces per hour. It gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of capabilities. Now I'm going to invite Craig Campbell up. He's going to come give us a demonstration of what it looks like to add facial recognition to a VMS and what the process looks like and how you can do this. He's going to take roughly about 5 or 10 minutes, show you some of the pieces to pay attention to.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Craig Campbell and I'm with CyberLink. And today it is my pleasure to show you our FaceMe security product. On my desktop, you will see that I'm currently logged in to FaceMe Security Central. This is our portal for FaceMe Security. All you need is the credentials and the IP address to log in. So that means that any PC, desktop, laptop, mobile device that has access to a browser can log into this system. As you see, I'm currently logged in as admin, and I can add additional users with additional roles. So I can add additional admins or viewers who can only view, or I can create new roles, for instance, for security, who can maybe then view only, or maybe do small edits. So you can do individual or group policies. On here, you can also see we have a people database. It's very basic. You have VIP, employee, and block list. To enroll, you got 2 ways of doing that, manual and importing. So if you have a CSV file of a large number of people with their name, last name, divisions, and of course, their photo, we can then enroll them through that directly. Otherwise, you can do it manually like this. For instance, under block list, you can see 2 people currently added. To add a new person, just add new, upload a photo. We need a minimum of 1, maximum of 5 for enrollment. We recommend getting different angles for this so that you get the optimum chance of identifying you at any angle that you come at that camera. So again, minimum 1, maximum 5. You can put a cover photo as well, put your name and employee information. This is the information that's going to be sent to other notification systems later down the line. So this is critical to fill this out. Also, we have the ability here to provide access control. So if you have the badge ID and information as well, you can include that to that, right? But again, like we said, 1 is the minimum that we need. So here you can see with Jared Kushner, this image of a more recent one was able to identify him with this older photo. We captured the date and time we got it, the workstation that processed the video and the image, the camera that captured it, the fact that he didn't have a mask, and we have a 97.2% similarity between this image and the one in the database. Right, and if we had recording, we could actually capture the recording too if that was enabled. So in here you can also get alerts. We have 2 ways of getting alerts. We have a U-Messenger software that you can use to join a group and get alerts that way. Here you can see I've joined this block list group, so I get all these alerts with the name, camera, location sent to my mobile or desktop computer. The other way we can do this, of course, is we have HTTP event notification API. So if you have a third-party notification solution, you can use that. The third way is by integration with a VMS solution, like I will show you today as we have integrated with Milestone, right? So once you've enrolled people, maybe you want to create categories. For instance, employee, if you want to search for employees, but you have maybe subgroups that you want to do a search on. So I can say do a search for security personnel and maybe contractors as well. So now whenever I do a group search, I can hit that tab and find anyone who's under contractors or security that I want to do a find on, right? All right, let's go to visitors today. So here you can see our visitor today portal. You can do a thumbnail view. We have a list view as well, where you got the time, name, people group, camera, all that. Or you can do a summary. Here you can see total count today for VIP, employee, and block list and combined, and unique visitors. So this is total for the day, and this is unique individuals that actually showed up for the day. And any of these reports, you can easily export this to format, any format you want, right? Don't really have much for history today because past history because I've only captured today, but normally you can do a search on date and time, year, month, so you can quickly find anyone. You can also do a search if you want to based on the cameras, right? So for under history, I can do search on cameras that I want to find or events. For instance, a VIP arriving for today is an event. An employee arriving, block list stranger, these are all events. Or if you have a thermal camera, then maybe a temperature threshold being exceeded is an event. Or not wearing a mask or not wearing it properly. All these can be events that trigger and send out notifications, right? So let's go back to here today, the thumbnail view. Let's say, you know, today I had a stranger arrive today, and he shouldn't have been here. We want to see, has he been coming here for the past week? You can do this simple by just doing a drag and drop or adding a photo. Once you add that photo and crop it, it will then do a search throughout your whole database and see if there's a match for anyone who's come in. So you can see the date and time for that person when they came in. He's been listed as a stranger because he's not in our database, right? So I can now enroll him so that he'll be identified in the future. But this is a quick way to find someone that may not be in your database, but you wish to see if they've actually shown up at your location. Not on top of all that, of course, we can export any of this again to file format. Now, if we go down to pandemic, you can see that we can, again, detect you if you're wearing a mask and send out alert notifications by that. We can also identify VIPs, blacklisted, and employees. Even if they're wearing a mask, we'll accurately identify them. If you have a thermal camera, this is where you would set the threshold so that those alerts will go out based on when that threshold is exceeded. All right, let's get into how we integrate with VMS like Milestone. So it's very simple. Once you set up Milestone, in there you'll create a bridge, and we'll just need the IP address for Milestone and the credential that you created for the bridge for accessing, right? We set up Workstation to actually processing the images from all the cameras that are on your milestone VMS. There's two ways you can scale up with this processing speed. One is if your workstation has the slots available, just add additional GPU graphics cards, and that will give you additional power. So another 2070 card can handle another 300 IP cameras. Or if you don't have a slot available, you can install a workstation on another computer and use that other computer as a workhorse. So you can have multiple workstations handling 1, 2, 5, 20, 100 cameras each. All right. So here you can see all the different cameras. To port them over for the VMS, I just do a one-click button. As soon as that, everything is updated, all the cameras are copied over, right? So I hit the tab button down here, we can see these are all the cameras that we're branching over, and that's the bridge that I created to connect into FaceMe with the ports that we have in there, right? We also have your alarms down here. Those are the alarm definitions that for FaceMe, for the alerts that are going in. So all this is tied in right through here quickly and easily, right? And then we go to the alert document for milestone. This is where the alerts are coming in, right? The last alert I had was a stranger that showed up here, right? So let's go ahead and start one of these cameras. And as soon as you say monitoring on, you know it's monitoring that video feed that's coming from the access camera in this case, right? So we'll give it a few seconds to activate. And once you see face monitoring on, it will then start analyzing the video for faces. There we go. So now we go to visitors today, and we got another visit here from Zoe. And if we go back down here, we should see the alarm for Zoe that showed up. Oh, I got to scroll all the way up. There we go. And this is the most recent one for Zoe, right? So you got the old file, database file with the most recent where she was captured and the recording of the event that was captured. And then when I double click on that, you can see that she's a VIP and all the information, tag information that was included, her name. If I included her production team and all that, that would be in there as well, right? So all the events notifications are coming in here. Here's the most recent one, right? And this one is a stranger, but we had them on there. Right? If I scroll down, we'll see a few other ones here. That's Zoe again. Unknown. Unknown. There we go. Okay, so all these events are being triggered and sent to FaceMe Central. So now you can have your policy engine here set so that when Zoe's detected, an alarm goes and notification goes to the person who needs to respond to that VIP. We also have access control. So that if, say, that you have a door, a small office that has no security, but you want to be able to provide your employees access to it, what you can do is have this little module from Wiegand module from Advantech or Vivotech, so that basically will allow you to send a Wiegand signal from your server to that door to unlock it. So when someone walks in front of the camera, it identifies your face, we can send the signal directly to that door to lock or unlock that door for that person. And that is our FaceMe security product. Hopefully you enjoyed the demo today, and it was very informative, I would hope. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to our team. They'll be more than eager to help you with any questions you have. Again, thank you for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Next one is about retailers. So products that you can deliver today. The retail experience, the shopping experience, people are looking for a lot more information than they've ever had before. So today, there's lots of ways of gathering this data. I can do line crossing with my cameras. People coming in, get counted in. People leaving, get counted out. I can do phone tagging. They have readers at the doors that can count the number of phones that come in the building. I can use LiDAR. It's a radar type of device that can count people coming in. I can use traffic counters, IoT traffic counters that go over the doors and count blobs. If you come in with a dog, it gets counted as a person. If you come in with your child and you're carrying that child, you get counted as one. If you're with your wife or your girlfriend or your husband and you're coming in, you get counted as one. You don't get counted as two people. What do they all have in common? Is they give you pretty good information. The problem is facial recognition gives you incredibly detailed information. I can tell you your age, I can tell you your gender, I can tell you how long you were there, when you were there, how many times you were there over the last week, month, or year, depending on how long I want to store that data. I can also look at your facial expression. I can see if you were happy, sad, mad, if you had a good experience, a bad experience. you can put this at the front doors, you can put this at the back doors, the side doors, you can put it at your employee entrance to see how your employees are doing. This information is very powerful. I can view this information in graph format, unique visitors. I could break it down by age and gender. I can also break it down by satisfaction level, and I can break it down by time of day. So I have more information now using facial recognition, and I'm not capturing any faces. I'm not storing any faces. All I'm doing is looking at the information and leveraging that data, and I'm counting it. And the power of it is I can bring it all in one place, and I can look at multiple stores. I can see if this is a pattern in a single store, in a specific region, a specific area, or globally. And it was interesting during the pandemic when you look at some of this information, because you could see who is shopping and who's buying all the toilet paper and who's doing these things. And it was very interesting data that the retailers were able to bring back. Now, this doesn't just work in a retail environment. I have Amar here today, and he's going to show you what this looks like in an auto dealership. The automobile industry is changing. We can buy our cars online. We can do everything we want online. And what's happening is the dealerships are trying to service their customers better. And by leveraging facial recognition and learning this data, they're able to understand, wait, how many times did you come back to this same dealership? You've been here 5 times in the last month. Maybe you need to get some questions answered. Maybe there's some way I can help you. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe you're coming in for service. I want to know how this data is playing out. And Amar has a very powerful tool that they'll show you. And he's going to come up and show us right now.
So one of the largest auto manufacturers, they came to us. They said, we have a problem and we would like to have a solution. We were in the signage business. And so what they wanted to know was, they say, we spend like $1 million on an ad spend, and every pop we do, we $1 million out of the door basically, but we do not know what we're getting in return. So what we did was, we have a signage back there that we did. So that's an interactive platform. So we loaded up the products in there. So person, when he walks in, it's captured by the facial recognition, and it dices and slices, as Terry had told us. You could do by age, gender, by sentiment also. We can also tie up what is playing on the signage and when they're looking at it, because we are also using the gaze API. The system can actually tell when they were looking at a certain ad, what the sentiment was. So we can take that feedback back to the auto dealership. So, so in essence, what they do is they are able to see what the foot traffic is. And they can see, okay, if I did a campaign this week in a certain zip code, what's happening in that, how many people actually came out and how many people actually looked at those models. So this actually provides them deep insights into and be able to rationalize their ad spend. Some of the other byproducts of it is like, we can also, like if you have a VIP customer, you can store their profile, train it on it. So when they walk into the store, it can immediately notify the manager who can come out to greet him, to give him concierge service. So it does that. On the flip side, it can also screen the blocked people, and it can also alert the security out there. So a lot of benefits, and they were telling me like, it was like a multi-million-dollar project that we did there in all the dealerships. And they said they had like a 3-month ROI on it, because they were able to rationalize the ad spend, customize it, target it better for different demographics out there. So I think it's a very good use case of using facial recognition. And what we did was we actually used a double-sided signage. So it's at the door, so people coming in and coming out. So doing a stat on both sides. And while it's doing, it's also capturing the sentiment analysis. So I'm sorry you could not show it. Our connection was poor. Everything runs in the cloud. It's uploaded there, and they can actually look at the data. Actually, the interesting thing is the regional CEO has a big dashboard running in his office. So he's looking at all the locations, all the demographics coming into him, so you can see which dealerships are more engaged, which are not.
So should you consider facial recognition? There are lots of great use cases. I can list 50 more today. We just don't have time to go through all of them. There's still many hurdles. There is so much going on in our world, so much going on with our laws. It's not?
Keep on.
Okay. There's so much going on with our laws, with our governments, with our privacy, with our security. People are doing everything they can to push back from this. And so there's not a right solution today. Every solution is just beginning. Every solution is just starting out through this process. And every time we embark on a new project, people are asking, is it the right time? Should I take these steps today? And so my answer to them is, yes, it's coming. You cannot avoid it. There's a lot going on. Is it the right solution today? It is in many instances. It's not the right solution for everything. And the laws are changing in our country. People are starting to address this. And as soon as they start to situate this and put some laws in place, it's going to benefit facial recognition going forward. Now, to finish up our time here today, I want to talk about ethics. And I'm going to invite Richard back up to talk about what we deal with on a regular basis. How do you talk to your customers about facial recognition? Is it something that you should consider? Is it something that we should avoid? Because it's not an easy process and it's not an easy thing to deal with. So Richard, you get to finish us out here.
Okay, let's see. What I'm doing is very simple. There's no demo, no technology. So just talk about ethics, science. Okay, so a couple of things about ethics. In general, it's a complex topic. When we talk about the ethics of facial recognition or AI, it is extremely more, even exponentially more complex because it touches what we have most important of our identity for anyone. It's what we look like, our face. And people are very worried that, having your social security number stolen is a big problem, but having somebody who has all the parameters of your face and can pretend they are you, you can change a password, you cannot change your face easily. Please, outside of Southern California, it's a bit more expensive. So when I talk about facial recognition ethics, like things come back from
We're seeing it online.
Okay, so now you're saying the dooms, yeah, Prometheus.
Before.
Okay, good. So yeah, I mean, problems with ethics, they survive a long time. And of course, I went to the discovery of fire by Prometheus about 5,000 years ago. People are still wondering, did he steal the fire? Was it discovered? So, and there's doomsday sayers who say, yeah, but fire, they can destroy things. It's terrible. So this is absurd. But the point is that there's always controversy. There's always doomsday sayers who everything is bad. But you look at the technology today, and consumers are ready to use it. Like if I was to ask everyone who has an iPhone to use the face login for not only the phone, but banks and everything, I have yet to find somebody who doesn't. So you trust Tim Cook with your most personal, your most valuable information, and he runs a commercial company. But when it comes to providing it, and here people who are here today, we're all in the industry of providing access control, security, and all sorts of services, value-added services that will improve customer experience using face. We need to have a very clear mindset. And as Terry was saying in the introduction, in the past 10 years, there's been a lot of failed experiments showing that there are all sorts of issues that were very true until 2, 3, 4 years ago, and were totally resolved or almost totally resolved by AI. So with that, we're very confident. So in the case here of our company, CyberLink, at the very top, our CEO, Dr. Zhao Wang, and I had a conversation about 3 years ago and say, yeah, this thing is controversial. How can we make sure we communicate that we're going to do it right? So we put a statement of global human rights principles for the company on our website. And it's not just there. Every single page of our website, you can click and see the link. I'm not going to read it. I invite you to go check it for yourself. It's very easy to find. But the point is that we make a statement. We say we're not going to do anything that would betray or would impede on the individual rights of human beings across the planet. That's a pretty bold statement, but I think it has to start with that, and everybody involved. You can make kind of statements if you do the right things, which is what we all do. Then when we bring it to ethics, I said it can be extremely complex, but we want to communicate simple message. So really there's 3 dimensions. There's a product or the solution. How is it developed, implemented? What are the use cases that we do that we don't do? And how is it implemented to make sure that we abide to our statement of human rights and our principles? So product, the features, like, is it legal to do that? If you put cameras in front of every house for public safety without a law making it possible, it probably is not something that's legal. And you know, there's the legal aspects, and there's regulations, there's policies, there's just like in COVID during lockdowns, we've all had to understand a bunch of laws. It's even worse. And at the moment, there are some cities, some states that say, oh, it's totally banned and we don't touch that. At the same time, we still talk to them, and those involved, we talk to them because it's coming. Even today, the federal government announced that they will use facial recognition to try to curb deep fakes. So these are things that, you know, it changes, but the features, we need to be sure. Is it accurate enough? Terry mentioned about the bias based on skin complexion, on ethnic origins. It was true a few years ago, it was not good. Now it is extremely good with the top players, those who, like us, use the latest technologies. Some of the legacy solutions that are well deployed are still showing that it's not the case, but this is where it's our role. There's an opportunity to say, these big companies who, by the way, all said publicly 3 years ago that they were not touching facial recognition. Now, whether you're a system integrator, you develop solutions, you're a technology provider, now's the time to run into that and use these latest technologies like ours. How is it built? How is AI used? There are companies, our industry, they were caught with hot hands using their customers' data to feed their models. Once you are inside an AI model, I'm not going to give you an expose on artificial intelligence, but you cannot take the person or the knowledge out. It's there. So ethical companies, like we do, we only use pictures, photos that we pay for, that or that are totally free of every restrictions. And this is how we can build ethical models. The algorithms also don't do anything twisted. It's something that is well proven. So that's very important. And then how does it run? How does it use data, process, keeps it? So if you want to do facial recognition, at some point, there's an operation where we need to take a picture of an employee, of a visitor, of someone. Is this picture what is accumulated in a database? Terry showed you that, no, when it's vector-based, all you have is a template, and it's impossible to recreate a face with a template that has vectors of a face. If that's the only thing you have in a database, is a record for somebody, they can do literally nothing with that. They can do a lot of things with the social security numbers or driver's license or passport numbers or credit cards, everything that the hotel companies might have on file, but this, they cannot do it. So it's something we have to debunk. But there are still solutions. I was talking to someone and say, yeah, the solutions we use for facial recognition, every time I enter a door, it takes one more picture of my face. So it's getting more and more precise because now it has 250 pictures of me. This is where, you know, you want to protect data. It's not necessarily a good thing. And then there's things about being respectful of the environment. Some solutions require a lot of expensive hardware, a lot of energy. We're not in the blockchains here, but these are things to be considered. Then the use case, I skipped one there. No, that's correct. Use cases. Is it legal what we're doing? Is it accurate enough for the use case? Is it equally accurate across environment, demographics? Is it targeting minorities? We have a customer that is not a customer, came to us for something that was supposed to be a retail statistics collection, but they wanted us to give them a clear record of everybody going in their stores who was part of an ethnic minority, the individual. And we said, you don't need that for statistics. They say, yeah, but you can do it, right? And they say, no, we're not going to do that. And we walked away because it's our principles. We say we're strong and we're not going to cross that line. And that comes all the way from the top. Our CEO said the market is big enough. We can do things that don't impede on people's right. He said something. I don't have press here in the room. My PR agent told me it was not a good soundbite for press, but so yeah, we're not in business of killing people. So the Pentagon wants access control from us. We're going to do that. We're going to let some other use cases to others. And every company needs to take a position. I'm not saying that it's bad, but in our case, our expertise is somewhere else, and we're very confident that we're doing well there. And finally, there's the implementation. And this is the most important part because this is where all of you are involved. So the deployment, it's all about protecting personal data. That's it, that's all. So how is the data stored and transmitted? Like us as a company, and there are people here in the room we've been working with, they're implementing in their own company, and we don't touch the modules where the data is handled. There's a firewall or a Chinese, we don't do that. And the data, again, is it highly encrypted vectors like files, or is it faces? And then is it flexible? Like if you have a company that is over several jurisdictions, let's say it could be Walmart, it could be multiple countries, you have to make sure that your legal department or legal advisors are heavily involved. We can provide some guidance on what we know, but this is also something pretty important, but it's not unachievable. There's much more complex problems that you face in all of your companies. So that's kind of I would say the easy part. Now comes education. That's the fun one because of the bad reputation. We take something that was okay, I don't know who's our gourmets here, lobster, who used to be known as garbage. And finally, there was, over the years, education process that makes it something that costs about $25 a pound in Southern California. I'm from Quebec, where you pay $5 a pound, by the way, in May. But that's the thing, like you need to educate. A lot of people, they still have these visions of the past, and they say, this is terrible, we'll kill our reputation. I don't want to do it because my competitors are not doing it yet, so I don't want to be the one blamed. And that's important. And we have also to explain that there's potential of protecting data. Like we don't insist enough that you have one chance in a million of, if you have good anti-spoofing technologies, to enter illegally into true security with facial recognition. At best, it's 1 in 10,000 for other technologies, and even less if you use your firstborn's date of birth. So that's something that protects data, if anything. And finally, communication. We really see with our clients, there's 3 levels. So there's management. It's relatively easy normally to convince the CTO of the virtues of technology. CEO, CMO, CRO are extremely worried they will lose customers. So you have to explain to them the benefits. We have use cases where you can create this offer facial recognition for a loyalty program. So you're going to store in a different place, a different country. You're a VIP customer. People will recognize you. They bring you the glass of champagne when you're in the stores in Paris, even though you've never been there. This is the kind of thing that they can enable. That Amazon cannot do that online. Your employees, people, they say, oh, shoot, the management is going to spy on us now with these cameras. Well, first, these cameras have been there for 30 years. It's sometimes more. And second, if they cheat on time and attendance, maybe it's not fair for those who are honest. So there's ways to communicate it. And the third one, and I think it was, I don't want to be quoted on that. Let's say a big retail chain, one of the largest in the world, they've been using it to identify criminals, shoplifters before they enter their stores. And they've been very public about it. And employees, when heard that, like what they told them is very simple. You tell employees, customers, you sure you want, like, how about we make sure there's nobody who's a serial killer in row aisle 8 when you shop there for your produce. And like there's a lot of value for everyone. And customers, it's funny, it's the one where I'm least concerned because we look at surveys and we're in the process of doing our own research. At this point, about 75% of everyday users are comfortable with facial recognition if it's something that's convenient and something that's provided by somebody they trust. So we are behind the customers there. So that's really what this thing is about when it comes to ethics. I could spend a whole lot more time, but essentially, I try to boil it down to some bites that we can use with our business partners. Okay, now with that, I guess we might have time for some questions.
It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, oh, it's 11. So I need to, so Hannah, how are we doing?
Yeah, so this is typically when we would be wrapping up. We did get a few questions, so it's up to you, and our attendees can hop off if they need to, if we want to answer a few of the questions that came in.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to answer questions.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like one of the questions we got was, how much of an effort is it to add a facial recognition like FaceMe to a video management system?
So the process is very simple. It's not a long process. I took my Genetech system and I added to it in a single day. It's a matter of adding the software to your server platform, connecting it up with your VMS, and we support Access, Genetech, Milestone. The major systems out there are Vigilon. So adding it to those systems is not a difficult task, and it can be done very quickly, probably within 3 or 4 days.
Perfect. And let's just do one more question since we're running out of time. You mentioned adding revenue opportunities beyond access control and security, like time and attendance and smart retail. Does it require programming, or are there plug and play options?
No, these are plug and play options. These are plug and play options that they're finished goods products that you can literally add to those systems today. You can put in place. There are, I think, additional work that you can do to give you more data, but the products that we were talking about today are off the shelf and can be added to an existing VMS or an existing camera today.
Perfect. I think that answered those questions for us. Thanks so much for your time with us today, and thank you, attendees, and thank you, our CyberLink experts. I think we'll wrap it up.